Let's continue our discussion of Emily Falk's book, What We Value. Today is the 7th part of our interpretation. You may feel happy when your social media posts get likes, or when a forum post receives lots of clicks. But for serious content creators, the reward to pursue isn't likes or views. It's shares. When readers share your work, or even repost it to other platforms, or when something you wrote gets picked up by the Washington Post, that is the ultimate recognition. A share is a high-energy endorsement. People are willing to use their own channels to spread your content. That is the strongest validation. And a free boost in distribution. So, what kind of content is most likely to be shared? Let's test your instinct for the internet. Here are 2 X posts. Which one is more likely to be shared? The first one. Warning, warning, urgent environmental action. Forward this post to at least 10 friends immediately, or the global sea level will rise another millimeter. Don't be a bystander. Hashtag final warning, hashtag climate crisis. The second. Just made a pact with my dad. Every morning before breakfast, we send each other the first photo of the day. Anything from scenery to selfies. It's been only a week, and he says it energizes him more than any supplement. Costs nothing, no lectures. Just puts "I care about you" into our daily life. Maybe you'd like to try it too. We'll come back to the answer. I'm sure you can guess it. Yet I can also guess that, without thinking, you might write the wrong type of post. Let's turn back to Falk's What We Value and see what brain science tells us. Before we talk about sharing others' content, let's start with sharing about ourselves. One of the first findings is simple. People genuinely love sharing. In one experiment, participants chose between answering general knowledge questions for $20, or answering personal questions. Sharing their own experiences. For $10. Most people chose the latter. Even with less money on the table, they preferred to talk about themselves. The truth is, everyone has a need to express themselves. As we've discussed before, if you're willing to be a good listener, you'll naturally earn goodwill. Sharing brings many benefits. It helps signal who you are. What you like, what you're good at, what you care about, what you oppose. When the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, it had little to do with ordinary people, yet many rushed to post their stance online. I support Ukraine, or I support Russia. That's personal identity signaling. This is my worldview. Align with me. Sharing also strengthens closeness. We tend to share more with people we feel close to, but by sharing, we also become closer. Negotiation experts, when dealing with hostage-takers, often use self-disclosure as a tactic. You must be going through something very difficult. I understand. I'm struggling too. My grandmother just passed away. Suddenly, tension drops and trust increases. Some people share to boost status, brag a little. But beyond any strategic purpose, sharing feels intrinsically good. Telling your own story helps you understand yourself, recognize yourself, and feel more deeply, I am me. All of this reveals one thing. We share for ourselves, and for our relationship with others. Neuroscientists summarize this insight in a simple rule. The content most likely to be shared strongly activates either the self-related system or the social-related system, along with the value system. Put simply, for your content to be widely shared, it must 1. Have value. Worth spreading. 2. Be connected either to me, or to someone I want to send it to. And this sense of relevance isn't judged by what people say, but by how their brains react. In one experiment, participants viewed 24 TV show pitch decks and selected which ones they would recommend to producers. They then recorded video recommendations, which were shown to a second group of producers, who decided which pitches to accept. The results. The pitches that activated participants' self-related and social-related brain systems were the ones most likely to be recommended, and also most likely to be accepted by producers. In other words, people don't just want to recommend content related to me or us. Their recommendations are also more persuasive. Even more interesting, an international study found that Americans say what they mean. If they say they'll share something, they usually do. Dutch participants, by contrast, were more reserved. Sometimes they said, I don't like it, yet their brains lit up. Sometimes they said, "I strongly agree," but their brain didn't move at all. And what predicted global sharing the best? Not what they said, but their brain activity. People can lie with their mouths, but not with their brains. Here's a practical trick. Verified by experiments. Given the same piece of content, you can dramatically increase share probability by doing one simple thing. Prompt people to think about how the content relates to themselves. Example. People were shown a news story about severe weather. Normally, they weren't inclined to share it. But if researchers asked them to briefly reflect on how the weather affected them, even just one sentence, they became significantly more willing to share. Why? Because it activated their self-related system. So if you want to promote a cause or spread an idea, the simplest method is: ask people to write down, or even just think about, what it means to them. Once people feel, "This has something to do with me," they're far more willing to speak up and share. Sometimes sharing is about status or identity management. Looking smart, cool, or virtuous. But very often, people share sincerely to help others. You see something useful and immediately think, "My sister could use this," or "This is perfect for my coworker." That instant recognition activates the social-related system. Sharing can also signal participation. If a piece of content seems to be gaining momentum, lots of people joining in, readers want to be part of it and are more likely to hit share. Sharing also carries reputational consequences. One study at Shenzhen University found, under real name accounts, users shared more positive, pro-social news. But were hesitant to share negative or morally questionable stories. Under anonymous accounts, negative news saw a clear increase in shares. Further, when researchers used technology to cool down participants' social-related brain activity, they were suddenly more willing to share negative news under their real names. They simply cared less about their image. Another reminder that the brain is hardware. Beyond strategy and functionality, sharing fulfills something deeper. Connection. Couples, close friends. People often send each other videos, memes, and articles not because they're useful, but because sharing itself is an intimate behavior. Here's evidence. In the classic virtual ball toss game, participants are gradually excluded to induce a sense of social rejection. After feeling excluded, participants become more willing to share content with close others. The content didn't change, but the need for connection increased. So now we can return to the 2x posts. Obviously, despite the first one demanding a share, it won't generate many. The second will be shared far more. Why? Because the first post activates neither the self-related nor the social-related system. Sea levels rising 1 millimeter feels remote and abstract. And, forward this to 10 people or else, feels manipulative. Almost like spam or a chain letter scam. The second post is different. It describes a meaningful social action. Practical, emotional. It is deeply self-related. Anyone can picture themselves in a warm parent-child moment. It's also socially relevant. Sharing it shows you're thoughtful, warm, empathetic. And it may genuinely help someone. Once you understand this logic, you'll naturally create more content like the second post. Yet in reality, many people lack this sense. Especially leaders who share content in group chats using the tone of the first post. Commanding, moralizing, or even threatening. Even, "please share," doesn't work. You must activate self-related or social-related relevance. In summary, to make content widely shared, you must activate readers' self-related or social-related brain systems. Don't listen to what people say. Look at how their brains respond. Another fascinating experiment, led by Falk herself, looked at New York Times articles. Participants read articles while undergoing brain scans. The stronger their average activation in self and social-related systems, the more the articles were shared globally. But here's the intriguing twist. Whose brain predicted shareability best? Not loyal NYT readers. But people who rarely read the NYT. Why? Superfans like everything. So their reactions aren't very discriminating. But people unfamiliar with the content react strongly only when something truly stands out. If they react, the article is likely to go viral. This gives us a crucial insight. If you want explosive, breakout reach, you can't design only for your core users or loyal fans. Truly viral work always wins over outsiders. Apple's products, for example, were never designed solely for tech geeks. They appeal to people who don't understand technology at all. Likewise, a sports product aimed only at professionals will stay niche. But one that moves non-athletes, even people who rarely exercise, has the potential to become a blockbuster. As Baiji said, his poems must be understandable even to old women. That's the spirit to learn from. Finally, remember, when we create content, the goal is to make others want to share it, not to share our own stories. Everyone loves talking about themselves. But if you understand how communication works, you'll show restraint. Unless your story teaches others something meaningful, or you're doing self-deprecating comedy, it shouldn't dominate public spaces. There are many lessons here. For example, during a Q&A session, someone finally gets the mic and spends 3 minutes on self-introduction, then another 5 minutes sharing unrelated life reflections. Boring and irrelevant to everyone. Or at an event I attended, a German guy who had worked at Microsoft was invited to share insights about technology. Instead, he spent most of his time recounting his career path, his promotions, his accomplishments, completely unrelated to the theme. The audience checked out instantly. Your story may be incredible to you, but the world is not short of incredible people. We are not your family or close friends. What we want is valuable experience and insightful ideas. What matters is, how does this relate to us? Everyone has the urge to express themselves, but content creation must deliver value to others. I wonder whether today's discussion resonated with you, and whether it made you think of someone who might benefit from hearing it. That's it for today's content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.